I'm on the air. Oops.
Gotta be that way with me. But I only know one thing. I've got a hunch I'm never gonna feel no other kind of love.
All right. All right, all right. Good evening, everybody. You are checking out. Boy, that was a hard transition. It should have went like this. Hold on, let me do that again. All right, all right. Good evening, everybody. You are checking out the Daily Update. We are live and local at the studios of. Let me move over a little bit. We're live and local at the studios of Philly Funk Radio. Right now on Philly Funk Radio, we are playing the replay of the Morning Coffee Show with Juan Johnson, which airs, of course, Monday through Friday from 7 a.m. to 10:30, and then replay from 7 p.m. to 10:30 p.m. On our line right now, we have Mr. Van Stone joining us from the Power WVSR studios in West Philadelphia. How you doing tonight? Can you hear me?
I'm doing fine.
Okay.
Power. Yes, I hear you. You hear me?
Yes, I do.
You hear me?
Yep.
Okay, so we're live. And, I'm here, Power WBSR 1360.1. Of course, good evening, everyone. And this is a short segment of Talk Live with Van Stone, of course. And with my colleague here, Jay Wilson, who is the face behind the camera. So I'm the face behind the voice. It is 7:02. And, of course, Philadelphia, the weather is really nice. So the forecast tomorrow is going to get even better. I don't know what the weather is going to be on the West Coast, But here on the East Coast, in Philly, surrounding states, I'm going to say we're going to get about 80 degrees. And
It's
if
gonna
it
be
does get that nice,
it's gonna be about
it's going to be,
85 tomorrow. Isn't that nice?
oh, oh, okay, see? So they changed it. 85. That's
Yeah.
really nice, really nice.
I got my
So
shorts
we're trying
ready.
to get, okay, well, I'm not just ready for shorts just yet. But, you know, we let you know about the weather because we know that's so important for you to know what you're going to do with your day. So even though we're doing the social distancing and staying at home, if you really need to go out, and there are things you need to go out for to get proper exercise, to take care of business, and it's the weekend as well. You know, so that's the upside. Like I said, I always try to bring this information to you. We are Black Media, which means our responsibility is to just give you the facts. And therefore, we're not just basically opinion writers or opinion commentators. We try to give you really what you need to know what's going on because most of the time, Black America, for whatever reason, doesn't just get what they need to get. So that being said, you know, I try to share with you the HFC, Health, Finance, and Consumer. It's just so much going on. I think we're going to condense the topics. There's a lot to talk about. We'll be brief, but we may end up going long, depending on, you know, truth be told, our emotions. Because right now, especially if you look at me, you know, Van Stone, I try to really keep it positive, and a lot of times, you know, actually, thanks to Jerry Wilson and the rest of the team who's not here, Antoinette, she's not here at the moment. My son, Kasim Turpin, who went back to New York, he will be back here hopefully in a week. Happy birthday to him. He just celebrated a birthday. He's
Happy
33 years
birthday.
old. Yeah, 33. Man, I've raised a lot of kids. And
I
he's
remember
not
when
the
I was
youngest.
33. That was a while ago, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, no, no, you're still close to 33. I'm actually the senior now of the group. So, and that's funny. You know, we're still young, but it is what it is. Because now, if you recall, they see me call me old head. So I'm like, okay, well, it is what it
So,
is. So
so
we
in
also,
about a year, you should be getting. In about a year, you should start getting that mail from AARP, right?
oh man, I've been got that now. They
Oh
start
wow.
sending it out when you get to be like 45.
Oh, well, I guess I got
You
mine
know.
coming in.
Oh yeah, you definitely
All
it's
right.
gonna be coming.
Unfortunately,
Yeah.
one of the two topics, actually, both of the topics I was going to bring up are kind of negative. But hey, it is what it is. We got to talk about what's going on in the news. The one thing I wanted to bring up is I'm sure everyone's heard in the news about the lady in Kentucky, Miss Breonna Taylor, in Louisville, Kentucky. She was an EMT worker that was sleeping in her home one night on the night of March 13th of this year. She had just got home from working, treating people, you know, at her nursing facility, and then the cops went to supposedly serve a search warrant. It was a drug search warrant for someone who apparently had used her address, and they went in, and apparently what happened was the Miss Taylor's boyfriend, who was staying there at the time, thought someone was breaking in. So he went and got his firearm and discharged his weapon at what turned out to be officers. And the officers, in return, discharged over 20 rounds in the home, killing Miss Taylor, who was only 26 years old at the time. So there's an ongoing investigation, and the Taylor family, has obviously filed a wrongful death suit against the city of Louisville and the state of Kentucky. So that's what's going on with that. I wanted to get your opinion about that, Van. What do you think?
Well, first of all, we just want to let the viewers and the listeners understand something. We always try to include experts or professionals, and there's a difference in an expert and a professional. But both of those people, whether you're an expert on the matter, meaning you have a lot of experience with the matter, you really are very familiar with how operations go in that field. And then there's professionals like myself. A professional is a person who gets paid to do a particular type of skill. That's why they say professional basketball player, they actually get paid to do that type of skill. So it's a lot to it when you are professional. So what we do, we try to bring in experts and professionals to talk about most of the subjects. So the fact that I have experience in law enforcement as well, just short to the point, all of the police officers who were involved in that, whether they fired or not, they actually should be arrested. And, because they committed murder. That's the short of it. And I just want to give my condolences to, it's just such a terrible, terrible thing what these officers have done. The reason why, short and to the point, that it was murder is not because, well, they were fired upon and calling themselves serving, a legal warrant or whatever. It's not even because whether they announced themselves properly or not, because no one was really there, so it's going to be their word against, the people, the couple was in the home. The murder basically is because of the shooting. That's really the point. That's the point. So where did the shooting take place? If the shooting took place at the door where they broke through the door, calling themselves trying to serve such and such, then it's impossible that all those rounds were shot anywhere and all over the house, which resulted in killing this person who was in the bed. So regardless whether the bed was on the first floor or whether the bed was upstairs, the shooting should have taken place directly where the shooting occurred and happened, not all over the house. So basically, they took what is considered to be a military action. That's what they did. And the reason why, just in case the viewers, you catch this early on or later on, trying to explain to you why it was murder, is because this particular neighborhood, evidently, they knew the type of people who lived in this neighborhood, which is based on racism. So when you have a situation where the police take action, they already figure out what type of neighborhood it is. And so when it's predominantly a black neighborhood, they, going in and figuring you can just shoot up the whole house regardless of one shot being fired. That's murder, because that's not how law enforcement works. Even if a police officer is fired upon, you do not have the right to just shoot anywhere and everywhere. So if it was a different neighborhood, it wouldn't have happened that way. It wouldn't have been, it would just shot up everything everywhere. It could have been little children in that house. Fortunately, it wasn't, but it was, an innocent person who was in their bed and they were killed. That's that's just the short of that. But I do have some more things to say. But I want to hear your comments, Jerry,
Well,
and then we'll go back and forth.
that's why I always say, and I'm not trying to sound like I'm anti-police, because I have family that were in law enforcement. But this is why we have to keep in mind with the police. The police are not your friends, your psychiatrists, or mediators or moderators. Their job, they're basically, for lack of a better word, trained to make an arrest and neutralize a threat that they perceive. So when you call the police, just note that things might not go the way that you intended for it to go. Because whenever the police come, it just amps whatever situation is already going on. It takes it to another level. Let's say you have a domestic incident where two people are arguing. Now, the one person calls the police. Now you have guns and law enforcement introduced into that scenario. So right there, you already took it to another level. So like I said, I'm not trying to be anti-police, but you got to remember what and who you're dealing with when you pick up that phone and when you call 911. I've actually had where I've contacted the police before myself, and something I notice is I'm the victim. I called the police, but the police coming to my house as they're taking the report. They're busy looking around for other evidence of a crime. So just note that when you call them and they're coming over and you're the victim, they're looking for other things as well, not just what you called them for, because that's their job. Their job is to find a crime and make an arrest. I know a lot of people are going to disagree with me, but that's just my opinion.
Well, no, I don't think that you're going to get a lot of people that's going to disagree. See, that's the thing. If it's racism involved, this is what you're going to get. That's why I try to get right to the point. Especially in the sense when they're looking for someone who they know they're supposed to be looking for. In this case, they had the warrant. They were looking for a particular person, so they already knew whether it was a black or white person. And all the background history, whether it was a dangerous situation or not.
By the way, sorry to cut you off. By the way, something else with that case, come to find out, had they checked, had the police actually did their due diligence, the person they were looking for had already been detained an hour prior to them going to serve the warrant.
Right. Correct.
That completely didn't have to happen.
Right. Well, what I'm saying is none of it had to happen. This is the point. Even on top of that, even when there was miscommunication and the officers that went out, they didn't notice for whatever reason. In the case that you know you're dealing with something serious like this, you are supposed to have trained and experienced leadership. And see, that's the problem. A lot of people who go for these jobs, as you know, to get a job, it's a sound job. It's either two reasons: for authority or for a good job. So, but if you don't have the experience or the training, and now you have to go after someone that may be dangerous, then right away they're going to go into panic mode because their first thought is self-preservation. They want to stay alive. So right away, where was the trained and experienced person who was on the scene? So that way the situation, there would have been control. But again, like I said, knowing the neighborhood, not valuing, considering the people that live in this particular neighborhood as valuable people, their life doesn't really matter. That's why we keep hearing Black Lives Matter. This is really a big statement. The people in this neighborhood, doesn't matter who gets killed or whatever. We're just going to go in here. We're going to break the door open or whatever we're going to do. And if anybody starts shooting, we're just going to kill everybody. That's the mindset of a person who's not trained and not experienced. When you have a person that's trained and experienced, wherever the direction of the shots fired came from, that should have been a concentration. Because you know what's amazing, Jerry? So here it is that the individual who had the license to carry fired a shot. He survived. So that doesn't make any sense. That doesn't make any sense at all. So the shot was fired from this direction, and yet the whole house got shot up. And when the shooting stopped, so what stopped the shooting? What caused the police to stop shooting after 20 rounds?
I guess they didn't have no more left.
That's terrible.
I know.
That's terrible. So this is the thing. Now, my opinion is not only should all of the officers should be arrested for the situation. In my opinion, whoever it is, whether they call a police commissioner or a police chief, that individual should be fired. So all of this should just be like a quick, swift justice. Just what the mother said she wanted. Swift justice. So this is the start of swift justice. So then that means that from the top down, it doesn't matter. You know, you have all these police officers out here doing such and such, and you're not ensuring that the experienced and trained individual would be out there first to make sure when you're going after these type of people, the bad guy, then that police chief or commissioner should be fired immediately. And you know what? It's not a political thing. You don't have to go through a whole bunch of red tape. The mayor is the one who has the authority to fire the police chief or the police commissioner. And yet every time something like this happens, you see all these people come into play, keep their jobs, and take all this long about situation, you know, for the possibility of justice to be served. As, you know, it's just terrible. It's terrible.
All right.
So, and I also wanted to mention another thing for our listeners, just in case you're not aware of this. This is something that the politicians, though, you know, this is why I say today, the newer politicians, you just can't rely on them. The old school politicians already know the process of law enforcement. There should be a regular meeting between the politicians and the police department. And that's the job of the police commissioner or the police chief, to constantly communicate with the politicians to see how can things change considering your community. So if you're talking about a black community, in this case, then basically all these guys, you know, when you're having this type of attitude and this constant abuse and bad cops, it should have been a change. You know, they don't even need a police force. A lot of people don't know that. You don't need a police force. You can fire your entire police force, and the state police will take over.
Well, the state police ain't no better.
No, but that's not the point. That is not the point of who's better. What we're trying to just say is to send the message to change this police brutality that's happening everywhere. It's everywhere. It's in all the big cities. It's in a location where you have a borough or a township or a city. So what I'm just saying is, as far as this matter can be reduced so quickly if they would just go drastic. You know, because you're not going to change the attitude of the person who's a police officer. I want to switch to the other part. I know you had another topic, but what about this topic here? Again, bad police. The difference in the arresting people based on social distancing, and, you know, so more black people, Hispanics, they're getting beat up, literally beat up over social distancing.
You know what? I'm glad you brought that up, because I read it earlier and I forgot it. I noticed something, that whenever there's a law passed, minorities always get the crap end of that law. We're the ones that always get harassed, beaten up, thrown on the ground. You know, like you said, for the social distancing. I did see that. I'm glad you brought it up, because I forgot to include it. But yeah, it's just, you know, like I said also before, when you start giving the police unprecedented powers, they automatically abuse them. You can't give law enforcement too much authority over people. You just can't. I'm sorry.
And I hear you. But now let's look at the social distancing, the complaint. What's going on in New York? It is terrible. So New York is a large state, and then you go to a borough or a township or whatever, a county in New York. Because New York is designed differently than Philadelphia. So you have a mayor, and the mayor may have all this responsibility. So much responsibility, it's just crazy. So it all comes up under law enforcement, and law enforcement comes up under the mayor. So in New York, we have all these people who are in a location who just so happen to be white. You have all these police officers. They go in clusters now. So they're not even following the same rules that they're supposed to be going out and enforcing. If you're going to be against social distancing, how can you walk out 15, 16, 20 police officers together in a bunch? Does that make any sense to you, Jerry?
No, it doesn't. But I think we could elaborate more. What I would love to do is I would love to get Kasim on to talk about this because he lives in Brooklyn, I think. He actually lives in one of the 5 boroughs. So I would like to have a more extensive discussion. If he could possibly call in tomorrow, that would be great.
Sure. But in the meantime, as we're able to watch it, thanks for the internet, you can watch and see what's happening. So you have about 40, you might have 30, imagine this. You have 30 police officers walking together, talking about we're out to enforce social distancing. So already you're not even following the rules yourself. How in the world can you say spread out when you're all walking as this whole entourage, piece by piece by piece?
Well, we know together. it's always do as I say, not I'm gonna actually do it. So I mean that's that's why sometimes sometimes the police actions are almost like the Gestapo, where all they do is they blindly follow. Because there was actually a report that they were trying to do that here, the Pennsylvania State Police, who I could do a whole show on my experiences with the Pennsylvania State Police. I'm not going to get into that right now because that's a whole 3 hours right there. But all they do is they just blindly just take orders, and they just blindly, no reasoning, no thought, no logic, no nothing. They just blindly enforce. And like you said, we, the minorities, always get the crap end of it. I want to say the other word, but I'm not going to. But that's
okay.
Yeah.
Right. And so when you had in New York, you had all these people a nice sunny day, and who just so happened to be white. They were on top of one another, literally, when they were walking without a mask on. And you had images of maybe 15 police officers just standing there as someone white just walking by them, walking together, laying almost on top of one another. They're all bunched up. The same police officers did absolutely nothing except for, guess what? They actually handed them politely face masks. Isn't that something?
Oh, well, then you go into here.
But this is what's crazy about the situation. Why it's making all the news? Because then you take the images of the inner areas. You see clusters of people, Black Americans, with their face mask on, spread out as much as they can. They are in transit. You don't see them laying on the ground. There's little small parks here and there within the urban area. You don't see a bunch of black people laying over there together. And yet and still, they're grabbing, harassing people, saying you're not in compliance, so we're going to arrest you. And then it had a clip where it was a young guy. He was just observing. He wasn't even filming what was going on. And the officer didn't like that. So he turned around and started going up to him, and he actually started slapping him in his head, man. Threw him on the ground and just repeatedly slapped him. And the guy wasn't even fighting back.
Well, which is
then
messed
the
up.
Officers came over.
Do you know why he wasn't fighting back? Because if he fight back, he'd probably get a hole in him. So, I mean,
exactly.
It's a shame. I'm going to take a small break real quick and then come back. So let me see if I can do this. Right here on Philly Funk Radio, Philly Funk TV.
The world is talking about coronavirus. But it's hard to know what to listen to. We have answers to your questions, like who's most at risk for coronavirus? People over 65. People with underlying medical conditions like heart disease, chronic lung disease, asthma, diabetes, people undergoing cancer treatment, and people with weakened immune systems. What should you do if you or a loved one is at higher risk? Avoid close contact with people. Avoid crowds. Stay home if you can. Wash your hands frequently. Learn more ways to protect yourself and others at coronavirus.gov. Together, we can help stop the spread.
Okay.
Mom, I got it. What are you doing in there? What are you doing in there?
What's that?
Are you a dog?
I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do that. Have you seen the pliers? Have you seen the pliers? Where'd you find those? Where'd you find those?
It's not your birthday. It's not your birthday.
Sorry.
Take care of yourself.
What are you doing? What are you doing? What are you looking for? What are you looking for?
All right, we are back. We are back right here on our program tonight. And again, joining us on the phone, joining us on the video, actually, is Mr. Van Stone. And he is joining us from the studios of Power WVSR. We are broadcasting again live on Philly Funk Radio. We're also broadcasting live on my Facebook page as well as the Power WVSR YouTube page. I wanted to bring up one more thing before we go. And actually, before I go, I have a video that I'm going to play probably at the end. Actually, do you think I should do the video now, or do you want before I bring up the other topic?
Let's do it now.
Okay, well, you can introduce to what we're about to play.
Okay, so we have been pushing one of our fellow, teammates here, David Anthony. He's a professional artist and impersonator, and he's also a musician. In fact, I did a story on him. So if you go to Philadelphia Front Page News, FPN, WVSR.org, well, I haven't said that one in a long time, you can find this latest story about David Anthony, a.k.a. when he performs as known as Mickey J. So we come to find out that not only does David Anthony dance, he also does the impersonation of historic figures from Little Richard to Michael Jackson to even Brandon Lee, the son of Bruce Lee, as a vocalist as well. So we're going to really promote this video. It's an older video, but it's him in song. It's actually his voice, and as an artist, one of his tunes, he has several, but we're going to give the audience a chance to view the video, which is basically slides, but you can listen to the music. And you let us know what you think.
All right, let's get to it. Let's get to it right now.